Ganz viel. No, stay through the most the last level. And then the way this is the prove it. Prove it. She said, and the last, this show, we'll give it a show. Very nice advice. What were you doing when you were 13? Was number one. You didn't number one ever since. That's perfect. It's like a robot. It's like a human. It's intimidating me too. I set my chest game. Where did you go? Efficiency. You can't go in mad or nervous. The viewers will see it on your face. You know what? You're exact. And when you were 13, you already beat some of the best players in the world. You played 2 games. Very middle school. So you have in the manual and it's even more perfect. Go through the steps. All right. What are you worried about? You know, let's be clear. Worried that I'm going to lose the best chess grandmaster of all time. Look back. Is that logical? Yeah. But also, a lot of people lose. Losing the best player of all time in chess, and you don't really even know what you're doing yet. Worst thing. The worst thing that happens, losing the best chess player of all time. It's a little embarrassing. Okay. Now you worst thing possibly happen. Losing the magnus. Focus on that. Everything else. Best possible scenario would obviously be and okay. That's another chance. Can't wait for that. What do you have that the other competitors in the United States are doing? Most grandmasters magnus plays. They think like a grandmaster. There's your edge. You'll never be a grandmaster because they're way smarter than you. Oh, really? So if you catch them off guard, I'll get you moving progression. What else can we do? Okay. Now you're going to play without a queen, without one knight, and down these 2 pawns. We're going to play blindfold chess. Give yourself a 2-hour game clock and an extra queen. Give Magnus a 2-minute. That's the recording. We'll clear it. That way the world doesn't have to see that. Look, you know, you don't need to hide behind. That's the truth. Magnus needs to see that. Late in my college years, I spent a lot of time watching Shark Tank, and not just watching it, but really studying how the sharks think and their balance between cruelly putting people's ideas down and helping them in hopes that they don't waste their time in pursuit of a bad idea. And I got into patents when I heard Lori talk about a few of her patents, and it was just really impressive. But what I took away from Shark Tank in terms of the patents is you always want to search to see if an idea has already been patented so that you don't reinvent the wheel, burn all those hours just to find out that wasted your time. And so in preparation for this week's podcast, I was going to put together a very well thought out true story from my personal life to take you even farther down into the roots of my brain to understand what drives me to dress up and yell at chess.com with a chess ball cap on. And I thought of a lot of really good stories that would give you really good background as to why I do what I do. Unfortunately, Marshmello already wrote a song about it, so I'm not going to reinvent the wheel. I'm just going to let him tell you.
There's no point.
I'm gonna go meditate with my dog in the backyard real quick. I don't have anything planned, just a lot of intensity to make up for last week's losses. All right. Whatever you went through, thankful also, but also very applicable in my life. Also, not doing that's disrespectful to the art. I'm sorry.
You're showing me there's no Ranger man.
I'm trying to think of what you just saw is a perfect example of the difference between tactics and strategy. So that's kind of me kind of setting the stage, getting my mind right. Now I've got that overall strategy for what I want to do and what I want you to see. And here comes the tactical part. Just gotta execute. There's a lot of people that can plan, a lot of people that can develop a great vision and talk about, oh, this is going to work so good on paper. I've seen it in business. Oh, look at all these great plans. It's going to work. But this is the real world. Now I got to execute. That's what I plan to do. All right, I'll share the screen. We're talking. We're performing now. All right. 2 focus points. Kick ass. Big names. Idiot. All right, here we go. So peaceful. All right. You're scared. In 12 seconds, you haven't even reacted. Thank you. Goodness. This is my go-to move, guys. Anybody ever looks at my game? I'm not gonna have to look real long to find out that I really like that knight move to start it off. All right. I'm really gonna lock in on the opening and be a little quieter because last week I had a bad opening and it just really cost me. Okay. All right. That's okay. I have to not castle. That's totally worth it. Yeah. So you get a knight. I gotta take that deal. That's a confusing deal. Okay, that's fine. Another queen, not next. You gotta be careful about that. Gonna be queen. So is it worth it to you, bud, to be down 2 pieces just to prevent casting? I don't know if that's a good idea, but let's see how it plays out for you, man. So enemy goes there. I've got him with my knight. Enemy goes there. He's got a lane. But the enemy won't attack queen down because then I got my pawn protecting. What are you doing, dude? I don't understand. Okay. It's really just confusing to me, man. What squares we need to protect here? Okay. Good shit. Let's just do that there. Okay. Confusing opening, guys. If there's anyone out here just trying to learn instead of have fun and just enjoy a little bit of the training, then I apologize because enemy here has just not opened in a way that any grandmasters would want to break down their ideas. It's really a confusing approach to this point, and that's one of the downsides to enemies too, guys. Is you can't predict them, especially at this level in the low 1000s like I'm at. Okay. Once you get to grandmasters, I'm sure they're a little more predictable because they're not going to hand away their knight open. Old strategy. Okay. So now you got the bishops free to come. All right. Now it's almost, I hate doing this, but a lot of times if the enemy opens poorly and it's just really not an impressive opening sequence, and I just get that sense that they're far less competent than me, then I just start trading pieces like you're about to see. I mean, if you got the lead, why wouldn't you, right? Makes sense. I'll just trade a lot of pieces. The logic's fantastic if you're heading a race. Just don't overthink it. Just keep doing what you're doing, right? I don't understand. Okay, fine. Now you're horseless. Have fun. Okay. So then your pawn's gonna be open. It's okay though. This is where if I had someone that really knew what they were doing at the grandmaster level to tell me when I can flip to that creative middle game mentality, because that's how I do it. When I castle, that's the end of my open, and transition to the middle, and enemy is just not really working with me on that. But I guess an enemy his job is not to make me happy, and I would never want to make him happy. So if enemy wants to try to throw me off by handing away enemy knight early, then tell enemy how to live his life. I can only do what I know how to do, and that's play my game and play winning chess. Okay. That pawn on e4 from enemy bishop because it was hanging. He thought I wasn't going to see it, but he thought wrong. Enemies do that a lot too. It's a frequent enemy thing. Okay. Okay, let's win an enemy bishop here. Okay. Goes there. Got him there. You got him. Understand. What are you trying to do here? So if you take your pawn up, enemy pawn captures, your knight captures enemy pawn on e5. And then what are you leaving open on this side for an attack? So if he goes there, you don't have that protected with enemy queen. There is no longer protected. There's protected by your bishop. Okay. So this is a little bit better here. It's one of those things where there's a lot more going on behind the scenes than what I'm just verbalizing to y'all. And that just comes with the progress I'm making in my chess career. Is, I've heard on a few grandmaster interviews that they've played so many positions that it's frustrating to listeners at a lower level like myself when I hear a grandmaster say, I'm not sure why I made that move at the time, but in the post-game analysis, that grandmaster can explain why he or she made the move, just because they've seen so many positions over the years that they just get that chess feel that's so impressive to me. And I'll have moments where I'll make a move with a friend. It sounded weird. Not a move on a friend, but like make a move, a chess move. And it's a confusing move at the time to that friend and to myself even. But when we look back and do our post-game analysis, because my friends, we don't just play chess. You don't just show up and play a game and have fun and throw a party after. That's not how chess works in my friendships. We analyze a lot, and that's been helpful for sure. It's also been frustrating to some friends who happen to be married, because it takes a lot of time to really nail. Shoot, what are you doing, man? I don't want you to do that. Right? Man, that would be a checkmate if I could just somehow get enemy queen to leave us alone here. Okay. So I Can't go there because enemy bishop captures. I go here, and then enemy bishop goes there. I can't do that. Man, are you gonna have to trade? You're gonna have to trade. You are. Trade queens. You are though. There's worse things. There's worse things. Want to get better anyway. I didn't want to checkmate in 17 moves. It's boring. There's always a delicate balance between wanting to improve and train and practice, because you get better with practice, but also you don't get a player rating boost with practice. I can only assume it's something similar to, like when Tom Brady was rehabbing for his knee injury. They put a lot of work in behind closed doors that the world didn't get to see to get that knee healthy. Knees don't just get healthy after they get injured. And when Alex Smith had that gruesome injury, had to do so much rehab, similar deal. I mean, he put a lot of time that we didn't see unless you watched that little documentary, which was a great documentary. I suggest it. Same thing with chess. You can't just show up and perform, but it's tempting if you don't really watch yourself and be self-aware. It's tempting to want to. Okay. What's enemy doing here? Oh, see what you're doing, enemy. Okay, that's okay. Using move with enemy bishop. That's where I have to. I love chess so much. I've never. Maybe careful what I say. Just you never know who's listening, but I don't know if I felt a love like I feel for chess ever. I've been close for sure, but what are you doing? What are you doing? It's hard to compare chess relationships to actual romantic relationships. Mainly because I'm a real tough person to be around. I'm a little bit intense. Try to keep it down, the intensity on this show, but the intensity just really comes out a lot of times. And believe it or not, there's not a lot of people who would just want to sit around with a guy and play chess. It's shocking, and it's a problem that our society needs to fix. I was always pretty good with the work-life balance when I was at a real job that wasn't fun like chess is. But when it comes to chess, I just haven't found that delicate balance that will also keep me to where I have, friends and stuff outside of my friends I play chess with. Okay. That way, if enemy bishop comes up here and puts me in check, now I got a pawn to defend it. Little things done right over and over. Good decisions repeated over the course of however many chess matches I have. I looked at my stats the other day. It's way too many. If that were possible to play too many chess games, but this thing that's great about chess and life now, because I see what you're doing here. Good idea, enemy. So here's what enemy's thinking. I'm reading his mind. It's a little creepy, but it's a power that I've learned from chess. So enemy's thinking bishop slides, traps my queen, and if I move my queen and bishop's on b5, enemy bishop's taking my king. That's ball game. So he's thinking slide bishop. I have to protect with my pawn. and now my queen's hanging. Enemy queen takes my queen. I'm in check, and I'm pretty much in checkmate because I lost my queen. So what I got to do is anticipate, which I did just now, as you heard. So now, yeah, sure. Enemy bishop can come here and trap my queen and king, but my pawn on c3 sliding up. Good luck, enemy. Take my queen, because then you know what happens? Knight sliding back to protect my queen on d3. Read you like a book. It's a little creepy, isn't it? You just don't like when you read them that well. I do it frequently. Enemy queen's got to capture my queen. We're gonna trade queens, I would assume. Feeling real good about this game, guys. You never want to be cocky, but you never want to be, just showing up for a game, thinking that your opponent's better. Even if you have to lie to yourself, your opponent's the best chess player in your state, in your friend group, and he's way better than you. You don't start the game until you've either psyched yourself up or lied to yourself to the point where you were so confident that you're going to beat your enemy, friend in life, enemy in chess. And then only then you can start the game. Enemy wants to give me the bishop. That's fine. I'm not going to tell enemy no if he wants to hand me the bishop. Okay. Queen can't do a lot by itself. The queen's a very effective piece, but if you want to just play with your queen and isolate it, you're going to have problems in life. Or in chess, at least. So your approach for life either to make dumb decisions without thinking. Enemy queen's got nothing on me here. You got to take enemy bishop. Yeah, why wouldn't you? Okay, enemy's confusing here. I don't love when enemies are confusing, but when they're confusing and they're handing me pieces, then I'll certainly take it. Close this out. Me and my dad were listening to a commentary during one of the St. Louis Cardinals playoff pushes. I don't remember which one. And the commentator was talking about the mentality you have to be a closer or any relief pitcher, in my opinion, which is you've almost got to be to the point where you don't even care about the outcome, which sounds counterintuitive, but it makes sense when you think about it. Because if you care too much about the outcome and you give up a game-winning home run and you come back the next day, if you care too much, you're going to give up more bombs to a lot of really talented hitters. So you got to care just enough to really work hard and stuff still, but not enough to where it affects you going into that next opportunity. Same way in chess. I don't know why you did that. And I care too much about chess. It's a good problem to have. You can work with someone who cares too much and make them care just a little bit less. It's really, really challenging to take someone who just really doesn't care at all and then turn that person into a competitor. That's a tough task. Very few special coaches are able to accomplish. Okay. Duh. That's an easy move. Now I've got enemy rook. Enemy rook takes my knight, and I've also got my pawn protected on d5 if enemy queen wants to think about screwing with my pawn. And enemy won't, because again, at this level, enemies aren't great, but they're not stupid anymore. I'd love to do something either, most of my life's related to chess, but something relating to working with young people who are in prison for, what are you doing? What are you doing? Get out of here. Oh, you can go for my rook. I see how it is. It's fine. See, I think enemy's thinking, I'll slide up here, and he's wanting to slide down here and put me in check somehow, so I have to slide my knight up, and then enemy wants to take my rook for free. Enemies are lazy people sometimes. Not having it. I can get my knight retreated here, and then get to that F7 square. That's ball game. Surely he's not going to fall for that. I'll never be an assassin or a special ops badass dude in the military because I just respect those people a ton, and they're just so impressive. But the closest thing I'll probably ever get to that feeling would be what I'm feeling right now, which is just getting to ruin this enemy's day by checkmating him when he's not expecting it. I think he thinks he's going to claw back into this game, but enemies think a lot of things, and enemies are usually not right about those things. Now our rooks are connected. Our rooks were like a young boy and his dog who they played every day in the backyard together. They grew up together. They were best friends. When that boy got his heart broke, that dog was always there to go for a run after school, just waiting to greet that boy at the mailbox. And then suddenly that dog disappeared. And for, let's say, for this totally false story, let's say that this dog was lost for 8 years or whatever. And then suddenly, just like our rooks, that boy and his dog are now connected once again. That's special. Rooks don't belong apart. Okay. Nope, I can't do that. That'd be a bad move. The enemy queen's got an option to come there. I don't like giving enemies options. It's one of my least favorite things to do. I want enemies to feel. Be careful with how dark I take this. I took it too far a few times already, and it's only going to get worse. I want them to feel like. I want enemies to feel not like they're completely powerless because I'm not a monster. But I want them to feel defenseless. I want them to feel defenseless when I play them. I don't want them to feel completely powerless, because then that gets to where I get to be a darker person, and I don't want to be that. Here's the difference to me between making an enemy, like you're about to see, defenseless. He's defenseless right now, and he's fighting a little bit. versus an enemy who is powerless. Powerless to me, the difference between making someone defenseless and an enemy powerless is when you get into seeking power, oftentimes, my opinion, that power seeker loses his or her ability to answer the question why, an important question to ask oneself in chess and in life. You know, if my boss tells me to do some things that I don't like and I feel like they're really mean or wrong or unethical, if he or she can just explain to me why I'm being asked to do those things, even if I don't love the reason, I'll probably live with it. But it's when someone becomes a monster is when that person can't answer why they want it done. Then they're just doing it because they want to be powerful people, and that's scary. It's really scary. We're going to backtrack this here just because the only way I hand enemy this game is by letting that pawn promote. And as you know, handing enemies games is top of my list of least favorite things to do. Get that pawn captured. We're going to end this game and make it ugly. And then we're going to celebrate. I'm a huge fan of being modest. I'm also a huge fan of winning and feeling good about it. You're about to see right now. Come on, let's go. I like to guess what's going on in enemies' minds right now. Sometimes I like to kind of role play it. Like, since I don't ever chat with my enemies. One, the clock management becomes an issue. And two, there becomes some risk of that enemy getting into my head. I'm mentally tough, but you don't want to take any chances for sure in chess when it gets down to affecting your player rating. So I don't chat. And that means I get to develop whatever ideas I want about that enemy's mindset. So let's do it real quick. So GEEQ079 is the enemy from America. No profile picture, I guess. Gives the insight to his or her thoughts. And whatever. So enemies going through the 5 stages of grieving right now. Enemy's been in denial for a little bit. After denial. I believe after denial, you get into bargaining. He's bargaining, you've seen if he can maybe get his rook involved, but he knows he doesn't have enough firepower at this point. He's done. And then angry. I think he gets angry after that. After he's bargaining, you know, I gambled a little bit, especially in college, a little bit too much. And I realized, you know, the casinos don't get that nice because I win. And I also realized those chips that say 5 or 100 on them, they don't feel like money, but they're real money that you're throwing out there. So I stopped gambling. That's kind of what enemy's going through. Is he's bargaining, but he's realizing that it's turning to anger, and now he's just like, I should resign. But to his credit, he's not resigned yet because it's cowardly. Chess is not a game for cowards. Let's see, denial, bargaining, angry. Then what you're about to see coming up here is a little bit of depression that he's going to go through. That's the 4th stage, pretty sure, of the 5 stages of grieving. So enemies sitting there, hopefully not by alcohol, because addictions are a real thing. And I've never been like where I would consider myself actually addicted to alcohol, but I've struggled with depression a lot. And I've gotten a lot of help for it. I'm a happy guy most days now as a result. But you got to ask for help with your depression. That's where enemies at. hoping that he's calling a psychologist right now, but it looks like he's still trying to find a way to win. So I think he's backtracking to some of the previous stages with bargaining and all that, but whether he wants to admit it or not, he's for sure in depression at the moment. Okay, so the reason I didn't take enemy pawn promoted to enemy queen that I just captured on b1 is, the logical question would be, why didn't I use my rook to capture enemy queen? The reason would be because then enemy queen would have access to my knight, because my rook would no longer be protecting, and I'm not here to give enemies opportunities ever. It's a really poor idea. Enemies hanging around. Okay. There, the enemy queen comes up. Okay. I think it's the most options there. Yeah, so I didn't want enemy rook to come there once my pawn slid up from g2 to g3, giving enemy rook some options there. That's why my pawn's going to remain in its place, and that's why enemy's probably about to lose. Enemy's struggling for air, and he just needs to stop. So I'm not here to torture enemies. I'm here to beat enemies and get the hell on to the next game. But if enemies force me to torture them, then it's on the enemy at that point. It's not on me anymore. They're just asking for it. That's why there's a resign button. I'd love to highlight it for enemy if I could, but enemy's really set to prolong this agony. Well played. Play this game. Attack 2, enemy. I got more pieces to attack you with. You just don't think about their actions sometimes and the repercussions. You don't want to fire me up. It'll just make it worse on you. The enemy's doing that right now. Okay. Enemy. It's closing time.
Closing time. Open all the doors and
I'm not letting you do it. I'm actually shutting.
shut you out of this world. Closing time. Turn all of the lights on.
What are you doing? Besides wasting your life. It's over. And this is where acceptance comes in, that fifth stage of grieving. You're about to witness here. Because the enemy knows he's not going anywhere. He's going to try anyway. That's the saddest thing an enemy can do, is try when they know they're beat. Okay. And that, let's see what that is. Do my math correctly? No, because that's because it's, yeah, makes sense. Your king. That's kind of a vital piece of the art of chess, is keeping that queen safe. All right. So let's ruin your self-esteem this way. Give me your queen, please. You got to backtrack your queen. This is basically like you're in checkmate, but it hasn't popped up on the screen yet. And I love that moment. love letting it pop up on the screen. So even though he knows he's done, and I know he's done, I've known he's done for several moves now. I don't get that satisfaction yet until don't resign. Oh, I love the feeling when an enemy resigns, but I don't love it when I'm that close to the checkmate, man. Fine. All right. So celebrate your wins. Enemy's going to go figure out if he's in depression, acceptance, or which stage of grieving he's in, because he was really confusing. I'm going to analyze my mistakes real quick. I do make them. It's not real often. So this has been my approach to analyzing since I've hit at least 2 plateaus in my young chess career. And I actually enjoy plateaus. Here's why. I think of success in most any aspect of life as like a stock price, which I don't know a lot about stocks, but I know they're confusing to predict. That's why I'm not a financial investor. But stocks don't go like they don't go. Stocks don't go like, come on now, stupid pencil. Stocks don't go like this. Either. People like to think that it does. People would be incorrect. So a lot of times success, it's like, ooh, things are going good. Then they level off. And then you get a little more success, and it levels off again. And then it's success hits again. Okay? Now, a lot of people don't like that view of success, which I found to be true from experience. Not that I'm super successful, but I've seen some other successful people figure some stuff out. I've had a few days that have been good and successful. But that's how it works in chess too. Like that's kind of me. Like I started around December, so that's me in December. I didn't know anything except for Gary Kasparov was very interesting to learn from when I listened to his YouTube videos. And then I got good when I started, or I got a lot of progress because when you start something new, there's so much room for growth. It'd be kind of like if I could get better. I could make more progress in my 3-point shooting in a week than Steph Curry could make in his 3-point shooting in that same week. But if you've got to bet your life on who's going to win a 3-point competition after that 1 week of me practicing and Steph practicing, I sure as hell hope you wouldn't take me. Steph can shoot some threes. Similar to chess. I started in December and I got a lot of progress made. I'm still not that good at that. January, we'll say. So January was my first plateau. I'd say that's actually pretty accurate. So I got to the 6 or 7 minute point and I just really hit a wall. And then I had to switch up my routine. I read a lot from this book called Peak because I don't really know what I'm doing when it comes to training my brain for chess, but they do. I listen to them. Don't reinvent the wheel. And so then, after I switched some things up, the technique I used to switch things up is instead of playing so many games, I would play 3 back-to-back games, 10-minute games, 60 seconds rest between each with a stopwatch. And I forced myself and all the passion and adrenaline rush that just told me, hey, the computer's there. All you got to do is click, play another enemy. But I had to sit there, and sometimes my hand was so excited to click that next game that I had to use my other hand to snatch it back until that 60 seconds was up on my stopwatch. And that just forced me to really remind myself quality over quantity. Enemies are getting better, and you have to adapt too. In life, if you don't adapt, you're going to be really, really bad shape. And so that helped me get out of that rut. I got out of that plateau, did some other things. That's about the time I started turning off music with lyrics also. And I either played in my SoundCloud Snapchat phone booth thing, or I played Beethoven, drown out my dog barking. And then at one point after that next plateau came, say Marchish, and then I really hit a bad wall in the March timeframe, as you can see. And I couldn't get past it. It was really frustrating. I wasn't the same dad to Nova, my dog, and it's not her fault that I was plateauing in chess. She wasn't giving me good advice when I asked her for it on my moves, but she's a 1-year-old dog and she's learning too. Can't blame her for it. And so what I did in March, switch it up again, is that's when I really had to make a big change in how I do post-game analysis. And that got me past that next plateau, along with just sheer desire, love for chess. And this is the analysis approach that I still use, and I haven't plateaued hard since then. Well, I'm worried I'm getting to that next plateau. I'm gonna have to figure out a new training technique. So this post-game analysis approach, I've been using it probably Marchish. It's just been great. So what I do is I go through my post-game, like you're seeing now. I look, okay, 3 mistakes, 0 blunders, 0 missed wins. Okay. And then my first time through, I do a fairly quick review of my key moments. And what a key moment does, I can show you here. Okay. I'm basically looking for a really good move, like it says that was a game changer, or more importantly, you got to learn from your mistakes. If you can't admit your mistakes in life or in business or whatever, you ain't gonna last long. And I'm here to last. Okay. So let's see where my first mistake was. First mistake, took my queen. Okay. Now, I really want to explore the alternative lines that I missed. Shut up, suddenly. YouTube Plus, man. I'm about to go take a loan to get YouTube Plus. It's unacceptable. My brain just jumped around. I'm supposed to win chess. Doing it on YouTube. Gosh darn it. Where was it? Yeah. So I'm tempted to really analyze the other approaches I could have taken with my queen, but that's for analysis phase 2, and we're in phase 1. Don't get ahead of ourselves. So we got our queen here. All I'm doing in this first analysis round is I'm saying to myself, okay, what was the correct move? Find it and stop.
In the name of love, before.
Yep. Okay. So it was wanting me to make that move with my pawn, which is logical. Because now, I mean, I didn't think my move was that bad. But chess.com did, because if my queen goes there, enemy bishop comes, forces check, my knight would have captured enemy bishop, and then my queen's still safe and controlling center. But I'm not here to tell chess.com's algorithms how to do their thing. I learned real quick. You don't want to mess with supercomputers. You'll win every time. But either way, so it says pawn goes up. That's also a very logical decision because enemy bishop's not going there, or there. Or enemy bishop's not going there now. It could have. I don't understand that move. Either way, you know. So then if the enemy bishop wants to go there, you know, my pawn's taking the enemy bishop's basically trapped, and its queen is also not in fantastic shape either. Enemy's not looking good. But I stop there. Okay. Okay. Another miss win. I don't like those. I don't like missing wins. Okay. So now I might retry instead of just do the best. Okay, which piece should I move? Still want me to move that up. Okay. Just really liking that pawn moving up to G4. Didn't like that. Okay. All right. What did I do there? And I retreated my knight. Just wanted me to. Oh yeah. So here's what I missed there. It was wanting me to offer a queen trade, and I was moving my knight back because I didn't consider the fact that my bishop on C1 would then have that protected. So that's why I backtracked my knight, and then I lost a little bit of control over the middle portion of the board. And I also lost an opportunity to get enemy queen when I was out playing enemy and had more material. So, okay. Chess.com, not going to argue with you there. Missed win. Do you want me to use my rook? No? Okay. Enemies shouldn't give away bishops. It's a dumb enemy thing to do. We're just closing games out here. That's all you're seeing. You guys move late on that decision. Okay. So now that's the first analysis. And now we go a little bit deeper in the second phase. Get a quick breath, reflect, accept that no one's perfect and you did make some mistakes. You'll never be the best if you can't accept that. I don't try to tell doctors how to do surgery. I assume that they've learned from their mistakes and they know more than me about it. And that's why I listen to chess.com's algorithms, because I've worked in technology and I know computers. I mean, I'm really good with Excel, for example. Macros, pretty decent at. I can also get along with some of the intermediate to advanced functions like VLOOKUP. But if I want something done, even as much as I like and enjoy Excel, man, I'm probably just gonna let the computer figure it out. I'll Google whatever formula and I'll implement that formula, because computers are better at humans than a ton of stuff, and can't fight it. So now I'm gonna let computers show me how stupid I am, and I'm gonna try to train my brain to think like a computer until Elon Musk gets that Neuralink chip ready for me, and then I'll implement that and make my life a lot easier. Okay. Self-analysis option is cool. Essentially, I don't use it, but I played around with it a little bit. You know, it shows you. I thought self-analysis showed you attacking lanes. It's not looking good. Whatever. So I don't know much about self-analysis apparently, but the show lines. Yeah, there's the lines. Self-analysis is tricky. So now I want to actually explore a little bit down the alternative line that chess.com's algorithms are telling me I could have taken or should have taken. And that's where you really get to the point where you're making progress in terms of your attacking, which is a very critical part of the game that I'm not super comfortable as an intermediate player, is my attacking. It's almost like this phase I really think about as, if I could play a game of chess, but I knew that the computer was going to correct me if I played a bad move, then my mindset never has to think about defense, and I can really just focus on playing the best possible chess I can, kind of like I talked about in the introduction with Magnus. You know, get the worst scenario out of the way, out of your head, accept it, it's possible, and then you shift all your focus to making life or chess the best possible. And that's what the second analysis does for me, is I'm not considering errors now as much as I am opportunities. That's what I'm about, is opportunities on the chessboard. All right. So queen went there. Okay, let's say we would have taken our pawn there. Get my face out of here. You don't want to see me. You don't want to learn about chess. Had I done that, let's see what it would have played out as. So now I can look and say, okay, now that would have been the move enemy would have been likely to make. And my question would be, why wouldn't enemy bishop capture my pawn for free? Now it's going to capture my pawn, probably. Yeah. Okay. So that wasn't a super critical error on my part, but it would have given me a little bit of an edge. Okay. Now, I don't like to analyze too many things. So I'm going to analyze one more alternative line that I missed in hopes to improve. Okay. That's a more advanced move, because at my kind of beginner, I'm more intermediate in terms of, I think overall I'm more intermediate. One of my things is I need to transition from the beginner level of knowledge to a more intermediate or advanced chess athlete would be, my mind doesn't ever want to backtrack my pieces when I have good control over the middle of the board. You know, it's one of those things where there are exceptions in life and chess. You got to know there are times it's okay to break general good rules to follow. For example, attack, defend, or control center. That'd be the purpose of most moves. But so backtracking my dark square bishop seems counterintuitive to that purpose, but it would be the right thing to do because enemy queen's threatening my territory. So that's something I need to consider as an option, is when it might be okay to backtrack pieces. Okay. And then that's going to force enemy queen out. Okay. No, that doesn't make sense. You're right. Okay. Okay. And then enemy bishop's going to e8. What? Okay. So oh yeah, okay. Because enemy bishop can't go there, can't go there. Enemy bishop's out of options. That makes sense. Okay, so that's where it's good to. It's kind of like you can make a decision and you can make the right decision, but you don't know the thought process behind it, then you're not going to be able to repeat it over and over. Good thought. If I'm ever crazy enough to get back into the corporate world as a manager or something, is I want my followers to know why, not just making the right decision, so that if I leave or go to the Bahamas, they're self-sufficient. So let's backtrack that a few years, because now I understand why it's wanting me to move my bishop back. So if I don't make that move, then I think I said during the game, enemy bishop's coming there. I've got to slide my pawn up to prevent my king from being captured. I slide my pawn up, then queen's exposed, I lose my queen. So getting that queen off of that third rank with my bishop, that was the purpose of that move, and now I understand why, and now I'm happy. And I'm a better person and chess player because of it. And chess is fun. A lot of things more fun, especially when you can't do anything or go anywhere. I'd probably like to go to the dance clubs, but I don't feel safe, and I'm not in a big city. I just dance here with my dog, and I still dance hard and have a good time. There's just no people. Let's close out with a story. You saw me accomplish my 2 goals for the game, which, if you recall correctly, my 2 goals were not as chess technically detailed. My 2 goals were kick ass 1, take names 2. I did both of those. Now let's close it out with a story. All right, Beethoven, you served your purpose. All right, I don't mean to use you like that. It's not a good feeling to be used, but you're done for the day. Okay. Started in position and technology in 2017. I'm not too proud to admit I spent several nights and several drives home in that first year crying. And after my first evaluation, which was that following March in 2018, I was really considering moving back home from Arkansas and just getting any job, even if it was serving tables, which I had nothing wrong with serving tables. I loved it. And I learned more from serving tables than but I tried to learn the same way as my peers did, which was they were so smart that one of them I even remembered, he could just read a book about code that we had on our shelves, and he would not only remember it, but be able to apply it. I'll use a fake name. I don't like to be vague, but I don't want to use his real name in case he'd be offended. We'll call him David. So David could just read this book fairly quickly and then come back the next day and remember all of it and apply all of it. More importantly, knowledge is a power tool. But I tried to be David. I tried to think like him, and my manager almost encouraged me to try to be and think like him, and I was miserable because it took me over 2 years to accept that I'm not as smart subjective, definition of it, as David. And especially once COVID hit in March, I now had the time to really take my own understandings of how my brain worked and apply that to very technical concepts. And I became pretty competent in a certain language of code. It's called ABAP, and a little bit of HTML. And I ain't that smart. You know, if I went to Apple, certainly don't belong at Apple as a developer, but I probably wouldn't be the absolute worst to ever be at Apple. I'd be bottom tier, but just the fact that I could even talk code with some of those people shows how important it is to understand your own learning style. Makes life fun. That's what I'm here to do, is make life fun for everyone that listens, especially young people, because I have a lot of fun now with chess and life, because I've learned and accepted that, yeah, my brain's not as flexible as Magnus Carlsen's was when he started out in chess, or any grandmaster that started out young, because you start out with something young, your brain just learns it better and quicker. And I can't rewind time, unfortunately, so I'll never have that experience again where my brain is so flexible that I can just learn something as a little child, and it's more fun and easier to learn that way. But there are too many people that say, oh, I'm 20 or I'm 60 and I'll never be able to learn anything new because my brain isn't as young as it once was. And I've found from experience that is not accurate. You will not be able to learn as quickly and well as had you started piano when you were 10 versus when you were 60. But if you follow the right techniques, then you can still become very good at something. Add into some overall message or take a little bit. That's a good story. It's a good example. How to approach life, how to approach chess or anything. It's important. We've got a really good podcast. I'm not going to give you just an average goodbye. A little bit of patience is worth it to make sure we close this strong show. That's what I'm about to do. The moral of that story I just told you about me being miserable trying to think like David when my brain doesn't work like that, and learning how exciting it can be to improve yourself through proven principles. The approach of not imitating others' learning styles turns one's mindset from a perfectionist where you have to be the best and imitate the success of another person, to where when I got into that book and took my learning into my own hands at work and accepted responsibility, instead of blaming God or nature for not giving me as good of a brain as David's, not only did it improve my work life, my personal life, because I started focusing on making progress and competing against myself versus the world. That gave me the best feeling one can have outside of a checkmate on chess, which is a sense of control over my own destiny. And I want you to control your own destiny too, and your destiny is going to be great. Out with Little John. I didn't play a lot of instruments today, but I want some chess. And I love music, but I love winning chess games as well. Little John can get a little bit dirty. Those are the lyrics instead of the videos. I don't know why exactly. The videos get me fired up. I just want to try to go be a rapper, and I just don't have it in me. Oh, is that the clean version? That's clean. I'm ready, Little John. I'm not actually gonna rap. I told you I wouldn't.